Hi everyone. We could complete the chapter 2 of civic education in the earlier video. So this is a part 2 of civic education chapter 2. Let's start with unitary government. Now I'm in page 37 of your textbook. Let's start. Topic: Unitary government. You have already studied what the concept of decentralization of power means. We have identified the states which have decentralized power as unitary states. The governments which are in power in the unitary states are identified as unitary governments. Given below is a definition of a unitary state. According to Professor Hermann J. Ferner, if the authorized power has been agglomerated in one central authorized institute, however, it is called a unitary state. The following governments are examples of unitary governments. Example: Sri Lanka, Great Britain, and France. Next topic: characteristics of a unitary government. You have learned what a unitary government is. Two ideological views are expressed by two political scientists on several characteristics of a unitary government appears below. According to Professor A.V. Dizzy, one central authority vested with the power to enforce law is the basic feature of a unitary government. According to Professor C.F. Strong, supremacy of the central government and absence of extra sovereign bodies in the government is the main feature of a unitary government. Accordingly, features of a unitary government are stated as follows. 1. Parliament. The legislature of the central government is the highest lawmaking authority. 2. Decentralization of power to local government bodies to facilitate administrative functions. Example: Pradesh Sabha, urban councils and municipal councils functioning at present in Sri Lanka. 3. Concentration of sovereign power of the state in one center, central government. Centralization of legislative, executive and judicial power in the central government. Next topic: advantages of a unitary system of government. Advantages of a unitary system of government. Number 1. The ability of taking quick decisions easily by the government. 2. Inconsistencies between bodies which exercise power such as central government and state governments are less due to non-existence of such bodies. 3. Government and the judiciary are common to the whole state. Next topic: federal government. Under that, the governments which exist in federal states are called federal governments. The outstanding feature of a federal government is the division of power of government between the central government and the local bodies. Two definitions of eminent political scientists are given below. According to A.V. Dizzy, it is a government which paves the way for unity through diversity. According to Professor K.Z. Weir, though it has independence to act within the power range, at times the way is open for acting together on some aspects. Examples of countries where federal governments exist: the United States of America, Switzerland, and Australia. Next topic: salient features of a federal government. 1. Building a common nationality respecting ethnic diversity in a multi-ethnic community. 2. Facilitates administration in countries with a large landmass. 3. Facilitates prevention of a state becoming dictatorial as a result of the force and influence brought upon the central government by the regional government. 4. Strengthening of the framework of democracy. Next topic: unwholesome features of a federal government. 1. The dissatisfaction among the state governments about the powers awarded under decentralization. 2. The tendency of states attempting to separate themselves from the central government. 3. The collapse of administration as a result of inconsistencies in decision making between the central government and the state government. 4. Delay in constitution. Mating process due to the existence of a second legislature. Next, scarcity of efficient officers resulting in failures in the administration of states. Next topic, history of decentralization and devolution of power in Sri Lanka. History of decentralization of power in Sri Lanka. Under that, the concept of decentralization of power is not novel to Sri Lanka. When observing the systems of government that prevailed in the distant past of our country, it is obvious that decentralization of power had taken place in different forms to facilitate the functioning of the government. Examples 1. Appointment of officials named Gambara, Gamani by King Pandukabaya during the Anuradhapura era to govern villages. 2. Appointment of local government officials with administrative powers by King Parakram Bahu during the Polonnaruwa era. 3. Appointment of local government officials to maintain the governance unchanged with the migration of Westerners. Example, appointment of a resident officer at provincial level by the British in 1815 AD. Next topic, the manner in which power was decentralized in Sri Lanka during the British colonial era. Let's start. The manner in which decentralization of power took place during the British rule can be identified by the Municipal Councils Act 1865 AD. In 1865 AD and in 1866 AD, municipal councils were established based on Colombo and Kandy cities, respectively. British governance has immensely influenced the present situation in Sri Lanka, where decentralization of power has been established. Village councils, or Gam Sabha, were established in 1871 AD. An ordinance enacted in the same year assigned the village councils provisions to solve minor disputes arising in villages, to solve the problems related to agriculture and irrigation, and provide health protection. An executive committee appointed for local governance under the Donoughmore constitutional reforms in 1931 extended the powers of village councils, Gam Sabha. In addition, the establishment of urban councils in 1940 and the local government ordinance passed in 1943 further decentralized power in British colonial era. Next topic, attempts to decentralize power after independence. The existence of local government bodies could be noticed even after gaining independence in 1948. The political authority system was established in 1973 to decentralize power. This attempt of the United Front government was to provide leadership for the enforcement of administration at district level. Subsequently, district minister system in 1980 established the District Development Council, abolishing the village councils and town councils. Late in 1981, divisional councils or Pradeshya Mandala and village councils or Gramodaya Mandala started functioning, and Pradeshya Sabhas were created according to the Pradeshya Sabha Act No. 15 of 1987. Next topic, attempts to devolve power in Sri Lanka. Opinions on devolution of power had been presented in our country nearly a century ago. The proposal to establish a federal state in the upcountry regions, forwarded by Mr. S.W.R.D. Bandaranayake in 1926, is prominent as an effort to devolve power. The Bandaranayake-Chellanayagam Pact signed between Mr. S.W.R.D. Bandaranayake and Mr. S.J.V. Chellanayagam in 1957 and Dudley Chellanayagam Pact in 1965 are examples of attempts to devolve power after independence. But the enforcement of these facts was not possible in the desired manner. In the recent past, in 1970s and 1980s, a tendency towards the process of power devolution is noticed. However, the then governments did not intervene directly, and they were more inclined towards decentralization of power than devolution of power. Next topic, establishment of provincial councils in Sri Lanka. Provincial councils were established by the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of 1978 and the Act of Parliament No. 42 of 1987, based on the 9 provinces prevailed. Chapter 17A and Article 154A1 of the 1978 Constitution states thus: subject to the provisions of the Constitution, a provincial council shall be established for every province specified in the 8th schedule, with effect from such date or dates as the President may appoint by order published in the Gazette. Different dates may be observed in respect of different provinces. The 9 provinces which were established under the 13th Amendment to the Constitution are as follows. The 9 provinces established according to 8th schedule of the Constitution are given below. 1. Western, 2. Central, 3. Southern, 4. Northern, 5 eastern, 6 northwestern, 7 north central, 8 over, 9 Sabaragamuwa. You can see the 9 provinces map of Sri Lanka in page number 42 of your textbook. Next topic, organizational structure of a provincial council. A provincial council is organized into institutions such as governor, the chief minister, the board of ministers, and the members of the provincial council. The organizational structure can be illustrated by the diagram as shown below. Head is the governor, after that the chief minister, then the board of ministers, then the provincial council. It consists of 2, government and the opposition. You can refer to the chart in page 43 of your textbook. Thereby an attempt is made to provide a brief knowledge about the institutions, the governor, the chief minister, the board of ministers and the provincial council. Next topic, governor of the province. A governor shall be there in each province and he is the delegate coordinator of the central government and the provincial council. The appointment of the governor is done by the president and his tenure is 5 years. The governor can resign before the end of his term. A governor can be removed by addressing a proposal passed by a 2/3 majority of the provincial council to the president. Article 154 B1 and 2 of the Constitution 1978 states about the governor thus. There shall be a governor for each province for which a provincial council has been established in accordance with Article 154A. The governor shall be appointed by the president by warrant under his hand and shall hold office in accordance with Article 4B during the pleasure of the president. Next topic, powers and functions of governor. 1. Summons the provincial council, prorogues and dissolves. 2. Addresses the council and issues messages. 3. Appoints the chief minister, board of ministers and the other executive officials in the province. 4. Assents the statutes passed by the provincial council. 5. Performing according to the president's advice in emergencies. Example, failure of administrative machinery in the provincial council, financial instability. Next, coordinating between the central government and the provincial council. Next, exercising governor's functions on the advice of the chief minister as the nominal executive. Next topic, chief minister and the board of ministers. It is mentioned in the 1978 Constitution that provincial council should consist of a chief minister and a board of ministers selected from the members of the provincial council. The main function of this board of ministers is to assist the governor in his functions and advise him. The appointment of the chief minister is one of the functions of the governor, and the person to be appointed should possess the consent of the majority of members in the provincial council. The governor should appoint the rest of the ministers on the advice of the chief minister. The chief minister and the board of ministers are collectively responsible and answerable to the provincial council. Next topic, powers and functions of the chief minister and the board of ministers. 1. Render advice to the governor in the exercise of his functions. 2. Preparation of the provincial budget. 3. Drafting and executing economic development and administrative plans of the province. Next topic, the provincial council. You are already aware that provincial councils were established in the 9 provinces of Sri Lanka. Article 154(2) of the Constitution states that provincial councils will be constituted in each provincial council separately. Every provincial council established under paragraph 1 shall be constituted upon the election of the members of such council in accordance with the law relating to provincial council elections. Article 154(d)(1) of the Constitution states the content of the provincial legislature. Accordingly, taking the land area and the population of each province, the number of members is determined by the law. The term of office of a provincial council lasts for 5 years. If it is not dissolved before the expiration of the said period, with the completion of 5 years, it is considered as dissolved. Members of the provincial council are elected only through provincial council elections. The main function of the provincial council is to formulate and pass statutes on matters determined under the list of powers of provincial councils stated in the 9th schedule of the Constitution. Similarly, passing the budget of the provincial council, making decisions relevant to the development of infrastructural facilities are implemented. The election of the chief minister and the board of ministers, not more than 4 from among the provincial council members, is also executed by the legislature of each provincial council. Next topic, powers and functions of provincial councils. Powers have been classified into 3 lists according to the 13th Amendment to the 1978 Constitution. 1. First list, provincial council list. Second list, reserved list. Third list, concurrent list. Accordingly, functions and powers have been classified under three main fields: central government, provincial council, and concurrent powers which both institutions can exercise. Next, you can learn about the tree list and the powers assigned to each of them as laid down. List on Provincial Council list or powers of provincial councils. The Provincial Council list contains the functions and powers of provincial councils. Functions and powers of 37 subjects that provincial councils are vested with are denoted in this list. Example: 1. Planning, implementation of provincial economic plans. 2. Affairs related to local government. 3. Provincial housing and construction, implementing housing development programs and projects. 4. Social services and rehabilitation. 5. Agricultural extension, rehabilitation and maintenance of mine irrigation work. Provincial councils can pass statutes on these subjects, but significantly a council cannot exercise any power in respect of any subject in the reserved list, and it cannot pass any statute in this regard. It has no power to initiate an act. List 2. Reserved list or powers of central government. Powers relevant to 17 subjects exercised by the central government are denoted in List 2 or reserved list. Subjects which are of great significance are included in this reserved list, and the Parliament is vested with the sole power to formulate law relevant to these subjects. Accordingly, several powers included in the List 2 are given below. 1. Forming national policies on all subjects and functions. The power to make policies regarding defense and national security, internal security, law and order. 2. Foreign affairs. Under that, all matters related to the government of Sri Lanka with any foreign country. Diplomatic affairs, United Nations Organization, participation in international conferences, implementation of decisions taken there, entering into treaties and agreements with foreign countries and implementing treaties. War and peace and foreign jurisdiction are covered under this. Number 3. Finance in relation to national revenue, monetary policy and external resources. Number 4. Justice in so far it relates to the judiciary and the structure of courts. 5. Immigration, emigration and citizenship. 6. Census and statistics. Next topic, List 3. Concurrent list. Powers that can be equally exercised by both central government and provincial councils are classified under List 3. It consists of 36 subjects. Some of them are given below. Planning. Number 1. Planning. Number 1. Planning. Under that, formulating an appraisal of plan implementation strategies at the provincial level. Progress control. Monitoring the progress of public and state sector investment programs. Number 2. National housing and construction. Under that, the promotion of integrated planning and implementation of economic, social and physical development of urban development areas. Number 3. Social services and rehabilitation. Under that, relief, rehabilitation and resettlement of displaced persons, relief for distress due to floods, droughts, epidemics or other exceptional causes, and rehabilitation and resettlement of those affected. 4. Agriculture and agrarian services. Under that, establishment and promotion of agro-linked industries, establishment and maintenance of farms and supervision of private nurseries, soil conservation. Next topic, local government bodies, local authorities. Under that, local authorities in Sri Lanka have been established with the objective of facilitating the administration of the central government and with the aim of providing an efficient service to the public. The possibility of fulfilling public needs through the participation of the public as well as the public representatives based on a certain land area taken place through local authorities. You have already studied about the local authorities and their functions in grade 9. Hence, you have the opportunity to study only their functions here. Local authorities function in our country at present, and the main posts of them are denoted below. Municipal Council, main post is the mayor or deputy mayor. Urban Council, chairman, deputy chairman. Pradeshya Sabha, chairman, deputy chairman. Municipal Council, mayor, deputy mayor. Urban Council, chairman, deputy chairman. Pradeshya Sabha, chairman, deputy chairman. Next topic, powers and functions of mayor or chairman. 1. Acts as the executive officer of municipal council, urban council, Pradeshya Sabha or Sabha. 2. Summons, presides and postpones the council. 3. Formulates the budget and plans as well as obtains approval from the council. 4. Formulates and implements development plans relevant to their territorial limits. 5. Coordinates with central government and the provincial council. 6. Provides public utility services. Next topic, powers and functions of deputy mayor or deputy chairman. 1. Renders necessary assistance to the mayor of the municipal council, chairman of the urban council and the Pradesh Sabha or Sabha. 2. Proceeding with the functions of the council in the absence of the mayor or chairman. Next topic, General Assembly. This can be regarded as the policy-making body of the local authority. It consists of representatives elected by public in respect of areas of the local authority. The mayor, chairman, deputy mayor and deputy chairman are elected through this General Assembly. Formulating of policies and plans, passing the council's budget, assisting the mayor or chairman in the execution of administrative functions, receive priority among the powers and functions of the General Assembly. Next topic, structural differences in selected countries. Reason behind the formation of the United States of America as a federal government. The United States of America, formed with 13 states initially, is a federal government with 50 states at present. The original 13 states were located around the eastern coast of the United States of America. These 13 states were independent administrative units prior to the formation of the federal government, but later they were united as the United States with the objective of ensuring national security and achieving economic development. It resulted in the formation of a government named the United States of America, which consisted of 13 states. There was also the need to build a strong nation to avoid the reoccurrence of the experience they had to face during the British colonial regime. Laws related to devolution of power had been included in the Constitution when the United States of America was formed in 1787. Accordingly, powers of the central government were included in the Constitution, while the state governments are vested with the rest of the powers. The purpose was to strengthen the central governments. The purpose was to strengthen the state governments. The purpose was to strengthen the state governments. Next topic, the structure of the government of the United States of America. 1. The executive president exercises the executive powers. 2. The legislature consists of two houses, Congress or the House of Representatives and the Senate or the bicameral legislature. 3. The president has to obtain approval of the Senate to exercise certain powers. Example, declaration of war, appointment of high officers like ambassadors, judges of the higher courts and signing international treaties. 4. The Supreme Court is empowered to settle the disputes between the central government and the states over the execution of power. 5. Appointment of two representatives to the Senate to represent the interest of each state. 6. Existence of a federal judiciary. 7. If the acts approved by the Congress are inconsistent with the Constitution, the Supreme Court has the power to reject them. Next, requirements of 2/3 of the consent of the central government and 3/4 of the states for constitutional amendment. You can refer to the figure of the United States of America with 50 states at present in page 50 of your textbook. Next topic, devolution of power according to Federal Constitution of the United States of America. The Constitution has vested all the powers except the powers given to the central government in the states. It is understood that the makers of the Constitution have made an effort to build a system of federal states with more powers than the central government. The powers of the central government and the states are given below. Powers of the central government. 1. Imposition of taxes and collection. 2. Financial affairs. 3. National security. 4. Foreign affairs and foreign trade. 5. Development of national economy. Next topic, powers of the states. 1. Education. 2. Health. 3. Housing and construction. 4. Local governance and highways. Let's continue with the paragraph. At present, there is a trend of the government succeeding in strength over the states in the USA. There are many underlying reasons and some of them are mentioned below. 1. The complexity of social, political and economic problems. 2. The struggle for power in the international arena after the Second World War. 3. The financial strengthening of the central government. Next topic, establishment of the Swiss Confederation. Under that, reasons behind the establishment of a federal state. 1. The threat to the national security being sandwiched between four countries, France, Italy, Germany and Austria. 2. The difficulty to develop Switzerland economically due to its harsh geographical differences. 3. Need to achieve successful solutions to ethnic, language, and religious diversity. The formation of the federal state of Switzerland took place as a result of the above reasons. Before the formation of a federal state, there was a number of small independent states in the country. As a result of the civil war between the Catholics and the Protestants in mid 19th century, the federal state was formed and the war was called off. Switzerland stretches to an area of 41,300 square kilometers, and it comprises of communities speaking languages such as German, French, Italian, and Romansh, and these languages are considered as the official languages. The Constitution of Switzerland was approved 150 years back. It has been amended occasionally, and the new Constitution was approved in 1999 for the last time. There are 26 provincial governments known as cantons in the federal system. It is a significant feature that freedom of a higher level has been awarded to them. Next topic, structure of the federal system in Switzerland. 1. The legislature is called the Federal Assembly, and it consists of the National Council and the Council of States. 2. A coordinated executive council of 7 members is in operation, and they are appointed by the Federal Assembly. 3. The coordinated executive is called the Federal Board, and the president leads, but he has no supremacy over the others. Next topic, powers of the central government. Number 1. Foreign affairs. 2. Declaration of war and peace. 3. Agreements with foreign countries. 4. Defense and military affairs. 5. Communication, post and telecommunications. Next topic, powers of the cantons. 1. Education and higher education. 2. Control of newspapers. 3. Highways. 4. Industries. 5. Immigration. 6. Prevention of infectious diseases. 7. Banking. Next topic, special features of the federal system in Switzerland. Number 1. The powers of the central government and the cantons are defined, and the rest is vested with the central government. 2. If a problem occurred in the execution of power, the Federal Assembly has the power to settle it. 3. Cantons cannot execute their power and work independently. 4. The use of direct democratic strategies to inquire public opinion in decision making by the cantons. So we are done with chapter 2. Study well. Do your best. Stay safe. Thank you.